tenors, sopranos, baritones, basses, all the same. When you're ascending from middle range to higher range, the determining factors that are involved are the tilt, the elongation of the chord through the CT action, the chord closure, swinging the chords and keeping them sealed, and the vocalis energy, the muscular activity inside the chord. Underneath the white superficial membrane, there's muscle that can either stay tense or it can release a little bit more. The higher you go, you need to find the ability to release that vocalis. That's especially important for tenors, but it also is important for sopranos and mezzos as they learn how to navigate the F4 to C5 range, their mix area, to know how to gradually decrease that energy, and then as they go higher to decrease further above C5. So the action is not intuitive, and this is why I'm posting. Those three factors, tilt, chord closure, vocalis, the brain thinks it's one thing. In fact, a lot of people that post online think they're one thing, and they talk about bright sounds and they call it chest. I don't know why they call it chest, because I can go ah and make a falsetto sound with chord closure and it'll be bright. It's not chest because it's falsetto. If it were chest, I wouldn't be singing in falsetto. So there's a difference. And some people might call it a thread of chest, or what they're really saying is that the adduction needs to be efficient, and that's an important factor in ascending. Now, this is what I wanted to post about. When you go up, because the brain thinks of those three factors, tilt, chord closure, and chest, as one thing, when you go up and you lighten or decrease the chestier element of the sound, the muscular activity inside the chords, and the chords become more supple, and the resonance emerges more on the breath without pressurization and push. That action of decreasing the vocalis often triggers a decrease in the other two, a reduction in chord closure and a reduction in the tilt. So if you were singing in the middle voice with a nice yawn position, when you go into your passaggio, you might suddenly feel like your yawn disappeared. And you went, ah, and you lost a little bit of that tilt. Why? Because the brain is interpreting tilt as an effort. It's interpreting chord closure as an effort, because it's associating it to the chest. So when you're bringing up weight, if you let go of the weight, it thinks it needs to let go of the yawn and of the chord closure. That's not the case. You don't need to let go of the yawn. So one strategy that you could use to kind of train your brain to differentiate is if you just go into a yawn and go, this is very hollow. There's not a lot of chord closure. But if you go to that and then you find focus, from there, if you go up, maintaining that yawn, maintaining the beam, and then let go completely of vocalis and go, so I'm letting go of chest, but I'm trying to maintain, maxed out, this yawn position of stretched chord and the focus of the chord closure. This is important because your brain needs to learn that as you go higher, you can maintain this energy of tilt and chord closure and not carry weight. You don't need to push the high note as though you're carrying the middle up. In fact, don't carry the middle up. Allow your vocal cords to soften without losing adduction, the beam, the squillo, and without losing the stretch of the tilt. So you're maintaining a certain physicality in the tilt. You cannot tilt without also finding this sense of physical engagement. So for example, if I go up to an A natural with no resonance, just tilting, this is just stretching my cord out. I'm decreasing a little bit the chest to make it easier, but I don't have much cord closure. This position of yawn needs a certain physicality. There's a certain engagement with the body that if it's not there, I won't be able to maintain that tilt. That physicality does not need to associate itself to the weight. I can go, I added cord closure. I still had the same engagement with the body, but I didn't feel that engagement here because at the cord level, I'm going, that's my cord closure. I'm not going, that's chest. You don't want that. You want, You're going toward a light mechanism engaged with the tilt. So the physical effort is not for the sound, it's for the structure. That structure needs to stay. This is why you see people, like for example, Kaufman, he does these diminuendos. He does them so beautifully. Why? You look at him physically and he's like, is that in the voice, that energy? No, it's not in the voice. It's in the structure. He's maintaining this big tilt that allows him to stay falsetto-y with the sound. And so the physicality that you see is not for the voice itself, but it's for the structure of the tilt so that he can maintain that position and not suddenly go from tenore spinto to tenore leggerissimo. Because that's what will happen if you decrease the tilt. You're like, that's not a diminuendo. That's just losing your voice. You lost completely the stretch in the cord. The cord collapsed inward and shortened, and now you're kind of almost flipping. See, I hear a lot of explanations of people explaining the tilt, and they are demonstrating with like almost open sounds. And they're like, that's not right. That's not right. You might be getting an efficient sound and it might feel light, but it's actually not tilted. You're not really finding the fullness of the sonority. You need to maintain the there is much more yawn in the position, and so then the note has much more sonority. Otherwise, it's got beam, but not a lot of color. So, just wrapping up, those three things: tilt, cord closure, vocalis. Break them down into individual parts. Do not let your brain tie them together into one intentionality. Keep your tilt, keep your cord closure as you send, pegged scale high, and then decrease the vocalis or the weight, the pressure on the instrument. Decrease it. This is like ridiculous sounds because they're so easy. Internally, it's like, okay, this can't be right because it's too easy. That's the impression that the person would get. But then when you hear it in the hall and you hear the sound doubling in size, you realize that what you think is happening is not what's going out into the audience. So, yeah, keep those three separate. Release the vocalis, keep cord closure and tilt very strong.